Here we got Vic from Worldwide Coral. Thank you. Yeah, I'll shake your hand again. I know. Yeah, so I'm just gonna ask Vic for some general advice of the tank real quick because they gotta go. They got a couple really exciting tanks to visit in the DC area, which I'm really looking forward to. So we chatted a little bit already, but I think it's worthwhile that other people also hear this. I was asking like for general advice in terms of a tank. If this is his tank, what would he change? And I went into a lot of specifics, but we'll just kind of let Vic kind of go in there.
Gotcha. So this was my tank. I'm big into keeping the tank inside meticulous, not my sump. I'm kind of like you. I'm not the most meticulous guy down there. But inside of the tank, I'm big into keeping all the glass trim, all this coralline right here, all of it, because I just like a canvas that is concentrates 100% into the corals. So I will start with the front, just getting that out right there.
Is there any risk in scraping near the seam? I know that's one of the things. Should be okay, right?
No,
just don't cut into it.
Do it with one of those razor blades that you can get at Home Depot. I love them. They're my favorite. Just you can feel it with your own fingers. You can reach in there. So another thing that I will do is maybe just vacuum your sand one time. I can tell the sand bed is healthy, but I can tell you got a little bit of diatoms towards the back.
Yep.
And you don't want it just to get too happy and just take off. So another thing that I will do is, the tank looks very natural, which I love that look, but it's becoming so overgrown that it's time to do a little bit trimming. What do I mean by that? Is you see this beautiful Monty here with the two colors, and you see this leaf down here is not getting enough light, and it's receding a little bit. So stuff like that, because you already have it, I will trim it so it looks, it's just manicuring the coral. Like you got that coral on the ground, it's not doing much for you. I will get it out so the visual, there's more like dead space, so you can have the sand nice and clean.
Gotcha.
You mentioned to me earlier, possibly thinking about adding more fish. You might want to consider, I see you have some aptaceas, which is very normal to everyone in the hobby. A copperbund butterfly. They seem to be, they go after akins, and you're not keeping akins in here. So I think will be a great addition for this tank, maybe some more green comets. To me, also you mentioned that you were dosing nitrates.
Yes.
I think you should concentrate into, you got such a well-matured reef and you got so much coral, concentrate on adding more food and just deliver your nutrients by adding more food, and then the corals get to enjoy that food versus just you dosing just nitrates in the tank. That's just my personal opinion. Other than that, man, there's not much we can do. The tank looks beautiful. I mean, the corals look super healthy. You see your torches here, your clams, your monties. The acros, they seem to need a little bit more flow, but the problem with that is if you deliver more flow, then your gonioporas, your claw polyps, they will retract. They're not gonna open as nice. You feel it, you see how nice and wavy they are?
Yeah.
They might retract a little bit. So that's a price that you have to pay, depends on what you want. So my advice will be maybe concentrate, maybe that big yellow tip acropora, which is not doing good. I don't know why it's so unhappy. Could be part of the nutrients, maybe not enough flow. Maybe remove that coral, put a smaller piece somewhere else where you can get more flow, and concentrate on adding different corals to the area. Because if you notice, you got the same two corals on both sides and you got the same slime ball. So if you remove that coral, it's gonna look like you got too much of the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe get rid of the slime ball here on the right, get rid of all that anacropora on the right, keep the two giant colors because you like the natural look, and incorporate a few new species. Because I know you don't like too many different corals, but maybe something that can give you a little bit of contrast, maybe a little bit more red. You got red here, you got red there, a little bit of red over there. It seems like you need a little bit more right there. Other than that, I think that's about it, man. And one thing that I say earlier is, I go to a lot of reefers homes, a lot of hobbyist homes, and I'm noticing people trying way too many things. And who am I to tell you if you're doing it wrong, if you're doing it right? No one. I'm no one to say that. Why? This is very similar like cooking, right? When you cook, you can do it so many different ways. If you do chicken, you can smoke it, you can bake it, you can grill it, you can fry it, you can air fry it. I mean, there's a million. I'm sure you can turn it into jerky if you want. There's a million ways of doing it, right? But it's the same way with reefing. You can do it with refugium, no refugium, metal highlights, T5, VHOs, LEDs. LEDs with blue, no blue. You can do it temperature 80 degrees, 72 degrees. You can do salinity at 22, salinity at 26. Alkalinity, I've seen people keeping it at 6. I've seen people keeping it at 11. So again, those are examples that no one can tell you how to do, but I'm seeing too many people try way too many different things. And at the end, they can't tell what's working and what's not working. So nothing wrong with trying a lot of things, but do one thing at a time until you understand what is it that they do. So that's my best advice that I can give you.
Great
Other than
advice.
that, the tank looks good. A few adjustments on cleaning the inside of the tank, picking up some of those loose corals, getting rid of some of the cetaceans, maybe trimming some of that area right there, the 1, 2, 3 with the acropora and slime ball. Other than that, your tank looks great, man. I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel. Just a couple tips.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I know you've been it's gonna have a busy day, so we're looking forward to all the other videos.
Thank you, buddy.
1 week later.
Inspired by Vic's visit, Big Brute Trash Can is out. Well, it's always out. It has been my water reservoir. But in this particular case, it's out for water change. Yes, after talking to Vic, I realized that, you know what? A lot of the things that he tells me make sense. A lot of people do not do water change, totally fine. But recently, probably due to all the changes that I've been making to this tank, stability is always good, change is always terrible, usually. I chop up that big chunks of Monty caps, I slice up the huge finger leather and ended up keeping it in the sump where it slowly disintegrated without me knowing. That was terrible. I also dosed liquid nitrate that kind of overshot a little bit, so nitrate got a little bit hot. A lot of instability that I introduced. So for those of you who are like scientists and are really methodical and accurate like Hobby Sci, wherever you are right now, I think no water change with precise dosing of trace elements perfect for you. But for me, while I'll still continue to do the trace element dosing because I will see the deficits in the ICP test, I will start redoing a water change to export some of the bad stuff that may not be able to test for in the system. My goal is to maybe do one large water change once a month, and we'll see how that goes from there. And in terms of salts, I am not really stuck to any particular brand. I've been using Tropic Marin salts. Price has been slowly creeping up a little bit, so I'm not a huge fan. But again, back then I wasn't doing water change, so it doesn't really bother me too much. But now that I plan to do a little bit more water change, I want to pay a little bit more attention to the price of salts. So besides Tropic Marins, I've also used the Red Sea Blue buckets almost extensively, and I've had good results. But recently, I started seeing this salt popping up, and I am talking about this guy right here. This is from Two Little Fishies, Julian Sprung's company, AccuraSea1. And the reason I choose this salt is because number one, the basic parameters of this salt matches where I keep my tank, especially the alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium. Before we get to the second reason though, I just noticed this. Look at this. They even have photo credits on the box. Here's a packing list from Saltwater Aquarium where I purchased particular salts. Not all the online company carries it. $72 for 200 gallon worth of salt. Here's reason number two that I gravitated towards the salt, because once you open up the box, you get 4 bags. Each of these bags make 50 gallon worth of salt water versus a lot of the other salt comes in a bucket, so you get everything in a bucket. The danger of that is during shipments, the bucket will shake and the heavier stuff may go to is it the bottom or the top? Sorry, the larger stuff gets to the top, the finer stuff gets to the may center the bottom. So a lot of people recommend kind of like shaking a box or rolling a bucket before you use it the first time. But when you divide up all the contents into 4 separate bags that's mixed appropriately, it's easier if you really need to mix it again. So this is the second reason that I thought I'll give this particular salts one more try. I like this approach. The final reason is a personal one. I feel like Mr. Julian Sprung has a really good reputation in this hobby. He never hard sell anything, and a lot of things that he does is based on science and a lot of experience. So just with that in mind, I am willing to give the salt a try. Again, we'll take a look and see if it makes any difference. Actually, I shouldn't say that, because a lot of the success and failures of this hobby may not just be tied to one thing. It could be a lot of different things stacked together, whether it's for you or against you. Whoa, okay, that's kind of cool. No, I just noticed this. Sorry, ADHD. That's cool. All right, anyways, water change time. Even before Vic came, like that whole 2 weeks beforehand, I look at the tank, I just like, corals are not happy. Like when you look at the tank for that long, you just know something is off. And it is time for a water change, regardless of whether Vic mentioned it or not. But those little STN at the base, that's definitely some telltale sign. And of course, all the zoa closed up. Something is definitely off in this system. And we'll try to slowly reset things, starting with a water change. I mean, the tank went through a lot in the last month and a half. So much for stability, right? Inappropriate reefer going back to his old ways. Alright, so we got the water mixed up at 35 ppt salinity, and one thing I'm actually going to do this time is to actually run a ICP OES test with Osmo. And the reason I thought to do this is because my Reef Sensei Telegram immediately messaged me after seeing that I picked up the new salts and said, hey, do you have any ICP information on the salt? Because he has been ICPing the salt that he used just to see if he needs to add trace. And that's really the main purpose of me running this ICP test with this salt as well. It's not really trying to catch anything. It's rather to see what's lacking in the salts. Like, is there a certain trace element that's missing? So if I'm just relying on water change, do I need to dose? Which I'm pretty sure I need to dose trace elements. But it would be nice to kind of know what the baseline is if I'm just running a tank with just the salts and with no trace additives. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the day after the water change, and there's no arguing it. Thing just looks happier. I mean, there's still things that's not opened, but it's starting to peek out. But yeah, if you just kind of observe your tank often, which I tend to, embarrassingly to say, yeah, coral just seem happier. They perked up a little bit for sure. So there's merit in water change. There's definitely something going on with the water, with all the fraggings and whatnot. And I think the water change absolutely helped. So that's my plan. I plan to kind of start back up monthly water change, if not a little bit more often, and we'll see how it goes, especially if the Two Little Fishies salt test to come out nice and clean, which I'm sure it will. It's just a matter of like what kind of trace elements I'll be taking away from the tank each water change, that's all. But then again, I do ICP tests every 3 or 4 months and just kind of do adjustments, a big adjustment. I'll continue with our dailies and we'll see how it goes. I am back. I am back on the water change club. It's been away for too long. I got to get my membership back. Hey!
4 to 6 weeks later.
Hey, what's up, Reefer? So I have the ICP test result for the AccuraSea salt back. Since then, I've done 2 water change already, and the tank looks good each time after the water change. And as expected, nothing too crazy jumped out from the ICP except for 2 items. Everything looks on point except for the sulfates and the barium. They seem really elevated. This could be due to contamination of the holding container because it is filthy, or my RODI unit letting some stuff through. So I'm not raising any red flags at all. And down the road, I'm gonna do ICP tests on my tank again to see if the level creeps up over time. One thing you may be wondering is whether the water changes that I've done so far has helped with the out here issue. While it has not, but corals always look happier afterwards, and I feel a little bit better cleaning out all the gunks because there are a lot of gunks piled up in there. So I do believe there's merit in continuing water change at least for my system. But in the particular issue that I'm facing right now, I do not believe that just straight up water change is gonna solve it. Of course, given time, everything that's gonna die is gonna die off and things are gonna come back in balance and stabilize and everything will be good. But in terms of just stopping it right now, I don't think water change is gonna make a huge impact because as I say, I've done 2 already and things come back. So I think whatever coral is sick, it's already sick. It's a little bit too late. I feel like water change is more like preventative, right? Build a healthy system. In fact, I actually did a full tank treatment with the oxalinic acid because things are getting a little bit bad. So that stalled things a little bit, but eventually the STN came back again. It's still taking out my big torts. So I think I'm probably just gonna cut my loss and start fragging the tort back really heavily, or just maybe just remove the entire tort like Vic mentioned, since it's not happy and color-wise it's not the most colorful coral. I may try to save a couple frags if possible, but at this point it feels almost too far gone. Do also keep in mind that I do plan to keep up with the trace dosing by doing ICP tests maybe every 3 or 4 months and then making adjustments as needed, and also doing the dailies. So I feel like I do see positive experience from the corals on those aspects, so I plan to keep it, but just adding water change on top of that. Which may mean, I understand, that I may need to make bigger adjustment in terms of the trace dosing, especially since the salt does not cover all the trace elements that need to be replenished. But I'll fly by that for a little bit and see if that works out for my system. If things do get really bad, I am not opposed to resetting the tank, simply because of a lot of new things that I learned through this 3 years that I want to apply to the system. Either way, we're gonna ride it out, see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated.